afternoon, and welcome. Welcome indeed to another edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast, as we're always broadcasting live from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800, this is key, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Get all the details on Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys on my website, markmosesshow.com. Now let's go up to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Yes, he is the man, the myth, the legend. He is my great friend, Chris Graham, Augusta Free Press, as we have much to discuss, especially big ACC football game coming up Friday night. Yeah, it is going to be undefeated Florida State taking on UVA. Chris, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great, Mark. Looking forward to some football Friday night.
Yeah, you're not kidding around. We will start there from the standpoint of, all right, I just watched Miami destroy Florida. It might have been more Florida destroying Florida, but Hurricanes win that game. They look like a contender, and everyone goes, okay, 2 weeks. We got Florida State and Tallahassee. That's the big game. And I'm like, Lee Corso, not so fast. The Seminoles open up play against Virginia. What are your thoughts on this game coming up Friday night?
It's going to be a game. I think that the three best teams in the ACC right now are Miami and Florida State in no order. I have, the jury's still out on who's better between those two right now, and we'll find that out in a couple of weeks, right? But I think Virginia's in that mix. I think Virginia might be the third best team in the ACC right now. And I know that's crazy to say. They were picked 14th in the ACC by the media preseason, but this team is not yesterday's Virginia team. They're not the last 4 or 5 years Virginia team. The Virginia money folks invest a lot of money in this team, and they've got a serious offense, top 10 in the country, number 2 in the ACC. They can score points. They can play defense. I think the winner of this game Friday night, Mark, has an inside shot at Charlotte. Virginia does not play Miami this year in the regular season, has a pretty light conference schedule. If they can upset Florida State Friday night, I think they're in Charlotte. So, that's the stakes of this game. It's low key. I don't think anybody in Florida's thinking that way, but up this way, we're definitely thinking that way.
Yeah, I was on TV last night. We were previewing this game where you just look at the stats. Forget Jimmy's and Joe's, just literally the stats. Virginia's scoring 40 points a game, top 10 offense. They're going crazy. But at the same time, Florida State is scoring 65 points over, I get it, against Cupcakes. But you look at that game against Alabama in the opener, man, Gus Malzahn's offense is rocking and rolling. Do you think this is going to be a high-scoring game on Friday night?
It has to be, yeah. You can't have two offenses that are this efficient and not have that be the case. And they're very different type offenses. The Florida State offense this year built around Tommy Castellanos and his skills as a dual-threat quarterback. And we saw that in the Alabama game. You can't really read too much into East Texas A&M and Kent State, but the Alabama game, it was his feet that kept Alabama at bay. He only threw the ball 14 times in that game, but with his ability to keep the chains moving with his feet, and then the stable of running backs, the offensive line they've got, and then on the Virginia side, it's a passing game. Chandler Morris, the North Texas State transfer. He threw 4 touchdown passes last week. He's top 15 in the country in quarterback efficiency. He's got really good wideouts, and Virginia can run the ball as well. They're top 15 in the country in rushing yards per game. So, these are two offenses that are hard to stop, and you've got to really, you've got to try to take one thing away from each of these offenses. But what that does then is it leaves the other thing available, and you can't take everything away from these two offenses.
All right, I need to clarify this. I saw Virginia lose against, I believe, NC State in a shootout, but it appears that did not count as a conference game.
Right.
What? How does that work exactly?
Well, now this week, the ACC, the ADs have at least agreed to play a 9-game schedule in the ACC. They have to get it approved by the presidents. That's a formality. But with an 8-game schedule, and we've had that for so long, Virginia and NC State hadn't played in conference since the 2010s decade. So they're out there looking for non-conference games, and the two ADs said, "Hey, let's play each other." We're close. We don't have to pay each other. It's a Power 5 match or Power 4 matchup now, And so they actually have another one scheduled for next year. Now, it'll be interesting to see. I think the 9-game ACC schedule won't start taking effect, I think, until 2027, assuming it's approved by the president. So I think that the second part of the home-and-home non-conference, UVA, NC State, will play as scheduled as a non-conference game next year. But, yeah, they were looking for non-conference games, and, let's play each other. We haven't played in a while.
That's so bizarre. I know the SEC announced, I believe it was yesterday officially, with the 9-game schedule starting next year. And I there's a part of me, this is where I sound like an old man, get off my lawn. I kind of liked when I knew who they were going to play every year, who were the rivals. Now I have no idea. There's like, oh, you'll take on Vandy, maybe you'll take on Bama in 2 years when you look at the SEC. Do you like this 9-game schedule for the conference?
I don't like the 17-team conference more than the 9-game schedule. I mean, because 9 games still, you're only playing, probably half the conference. And, it's necessary. I mean, yeah, I understand. At this stage, you're trying to do what you can do to boost your conference members' ability to have a strength of schedule that can get them a playoff possibility. So, and it's not just the 9 games in the conference; it's the 9+1 model. That both the ACC and SEC, in addition to going 9 games with the conference schedule, are also saying you have to schedule one of your 3 non-conference games has to be a Power 4. Now, that's going to distinguish them from the Big Ten. The Big Ten went out and started canceling their Power 4 games. Virginia had a home-and-home with Indiana on the schedule, for example. Indiana backed out of it back in the summertime. So the ACC and the SEC will get a leg up. I imagine what we'll end up seeing is the Big Ten will say, okay, sorry, we'll actually want to play another one of those games. But it's all about the window dressing of the strength of schedule, and I'm for that.
Look, dude, I feel bad saying this because I went to a small school myself for college, but some of these games, like, come on. Like, Florida State took on East Texas A&M. Didn't even know that was a school. Had no idea. Then they took on, all right, Kent State, that's a school. Even the Gators took on, hell, it's their only win. It was like a Long Island University.
Yeah.
Like, all right. Let's do this as a democracy. Should you get one cupcake and then move on and play a real schedule? Is that how you do it?
I think we got to go there eventually. Yeah, you got and really, I'm hearing some coaches and ADs say, let's schedule like an exhibition game, preseason game, and get rid of all the cupcakes. Let's have if you have an FCS in your area, everybody does, play your FCS sometime in mid-August. Work your kinks out. Get your guys some reps, and then play some real games starting, and maybe even take one real game off the schedule. I don't know what you can do there, but, at least get it down to one regular season game. And then, because the playoff was supposed to give us more meaningful non-conference games, certainly conference games, because you don't have to be 12-0 and artificial looking 12-0 anymore to get consideration for a 4-team playoff. So the bigger the playoff gets, you can absorb a loss or 2 or 3 even. Yeah, let's schedule some more difficult games.
Yeah, because you look at Ohio State last year, did not win their conference, had 2 losses, and won the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It's wild to say out loud, but that's exactly what happened. So, look, you look at Virginia, they have a loss. It's not a conference loss. So, technically, they're still undefeated, all right? So in theory, you could lose this game against Florida State and still be alive for the conference and maybe the playoff, correct?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I mentioned earlier, Virginia's schedule is pretty light. I mean, the ACC schedule is pretty light this year. That's part of being in a 17-team conference, too. Some years you'll have, you may have Clemson and Florida State and Miami, and some years, like in Virginia's case, they've only got one of those 3. And so, the more difficult games are at home this year for Virginia. So yeah, they could lose. They could absorb a loss in this game, but that's why I say from the Virginia standpoint, win this game. You got Florida State coming to your house off of a bye week and then a couple of cupcakes. They played Alabama about a month ago now, it seems like. So, it's been a while since they've been punched in the mouth. Maybe you sneak one out here. You sneak this one out, and at this point, if you beat Florida State and you've got a light schedule for your other 7 games, you can have someone come up and upset you and still maybe play your way into Charlotte. So, and the way things work, I mean, you win your conference now. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to have a name. You don't have to be Miami or Florida State. If Virginia can win in Charlotte, a Virginia-like school can win in Charlotte in December, they're playing in a playoff game, and that was not open even a couple of years ago.
I have something to tell you. In the state of Florida, everyone is thinking this is it for Florida State, Miami, where maybe they'll both meet each other in Charlotte for the first time. That's the feeling I'm getting right. And you know what's crazy? Miami started in the conference in what, 2004? How's it never happened before? It's mind-boggling that we've never had that matchup.
Oh, yeah, that was the design. When they went to division play, the ACC put those two in opposite divisions because the assumption was we'll have Florida State and Miami playing for the championship every year, and they've never played for the championship. Miami's only been in that game a couple times, maybe. Florida State had a run, obviously for a while there with Jimbo Fisher. But no, I mean, you're bringing in Miami, bringing in Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech had a run there because Virginia Tech, when they went to the ACC, got them also in 2004. They were in the middle of their, long run of 10-plus win seasons and competing for national championship berths and that kind of thing. They've fallen off. So, yeah, I mean, expanding the conference was supposed to make football better, and the schools they brought in to do so really haven't helped the ACC get better in football.
Has Va Tech not been competitive since, and I feel bad what I'm about to say, when you really, really think about like a real contender since Tyrod Taylor was there? That's 15
That's probably
years.
That's probably accurate. Yeah, he was he played in the Orange Bowl against Andrew Luck, and I think that's probably the last. And that was around 2012, I want to say. Frank Beamer's last 4 years were they hovered around 500. They've been basically a 500 program since that Orange Bowl. Yeah.
Do you think Clemson, after getting embarrassed by Syracuse at home, is it kind of one of those things like, all right, this is not working right now or not anymore with this current coaching regime?
I don't know about the coaching regime. I wouldn't throw the baby out there with the bathwater. I think it's the approach maybe by the coaching regime. Dabo Swinney has famously been resistant to using the transfer portal. He finally got a few transfers in this year, but everybody else has said, hey, it's not like we want to have a new roster of 80 guys every year. You can't do that either. But let's get our core and then find a few guys off the portal to add to our core to make us better. And Dabo Swinney has been saying, I'm going to just do it from the way we've always done it. And it kind of reminds me, up here, Tony Bennett, the legendary Virginia basketball coach, very similar approach. Hey, I don't like this transfer portal era. I'm not going to play the game the way everybody else does. I'm going to still build and develop my own guys. And eventually Tony Bennett just decided to retire. And you're seeing more guys like that. Bruce Pearl stepped down here just this week in Auburn from the basketball perspective. Nick Saban stepped down a couple of years ago to Alabama. He didn't want to play the NIL transfer portal game anymore. So, I think Dabo Swinney this year will be – okay, so because last year he made a playoff, right? Okay, look, redeemed. I did what I needed to do. This year, 1-3 start. You're losing to a school in Syracuse that, uses the transfer portal pretty well. One with a backup quarterback in Clemson, in Death Valley. This is the year Dabo Swinney's got to say, okay, either I'm going to change or I got to get out.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great trivia question. Who won the conference last year? It was Clemson with 3 losses and made – now I know who they lose to, like Texas, I think, in the opening game. I think it was something like that.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they beat SMU. Yeah, dude, this – in about 10 years, doing sports trivia is going to be very hard for college football. Who won this? Who won that?
It's already hard for me. I look. I'll be honest with you, Mark. Sometimes I see a guy's name and say, "Who's that guy?" Oh my God, he was like 4th in the Heisman Trophy last year. What? Where did I miss this?
I know, dude. All right, I made this comment. I feel really bad. Really bad. I kind of said the AP Top 25 is a waste of time. And again, I have so many friends and people that I admire who are voters, all right? And you've been doing this a long time. You write books. You do different voting for college sports. But I'm just at the point where, like, oh, no, Miami dropped in the polls. I'm like, the poll doesn't matter. Only that playoff poll matters. What is your thoughts, Chris?
I have gotten out of voting and all those things that I've voted on for years, Mark, because I have come to that conclusion. It's been a couple of years at least, but I took it so seriously. Like I would study the offensive line stats when I was voting for all ACC teams and that kind of thing. And I got the sense when I would see the results of the voting, I would say, these other guys didn't do that. They just voted for, hey, Clemson led the league in rushing. Let's put all their linemen on the first team, and that kind of thing. And so that's when I started paying more attention to it. And yeah, it's crazy. This time of year, especially, some teams are 4 or 5, we'll be 5th week for UVA, 4th week for Florida State. I still don't think we know who these teams are yet. They've played a mix of good teams and cupcakes and that kind of thing. And that's kind of the case all over the country. We really won't know who these teams are until mid to late October. And we're voting every week on this. I just don't see the sense in it.
Yeah, Florida State hasn't left Tallahassee yet to play football until this Friday. And again, we're going to find out about these teams moving forward. And yeah, the preseason number 1 was Texas and then lost at Ohio State. I think if you're the champ and you bring back most of your team, you should start at number 1. That's how I look at it.
And in this era, that makes no sense too, because the transfer portal is what it is. Most schools have, even the schools who aren't, very active on the transfer portal still have 20 or 25 new guys, not just freshmen, which everybody has 20 or 25 new guys, but I'm talking about 20 or 25 guys that are competing for spots on their 2 deep, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And so when there's that many guys that are new, we don't know what they are and we don't know how they mix, we don't know how they mesh until several games in. And preseason polls are, look at Florida State. Preseason ACC voters had them 7th in the conference. They go out and beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns in week 1.
Dude, they were 2-10 last year.
Yeah.
And I honestly, and we're going to find out, like you said, the next couple of weeks, Chris Graham, the Gus Malzahn thing, shocking, where he leaves UCF and says, I'll just be the OC. And he's completely, it feels like he's fixed the program. And now it looks like they have 2 head coaches. And you bring up Tommy C, as I like to call him. I saw him play for UCF. And I swear, I could be wrong, I think for Boston College, he beat Florida State. And now he's the coach. It's like, what? When we get, like in 5 years in the NFL, when we do the starting lineups for teams, are players going to come on screen and say the 5 teams they played for?
Oh my gosh, that's like Virginia's quarterback Chandler Morris. He was a year at Oklahoma. He redshirted that year, didn't play. 3 years at TCU, was a starting quarterback the year they went to the national championship game, but he got hurt in week 1, so he wasn't the guy. But then he was a starting quarterback again. The next year got hurt. Then he went to North Texas, and now he's at Virginia. I make the joke that some of these guys have been in college longer than John Blutarski on Animal House. Virginia's got a guy, one of their best receivers, number 6, Cam Ross. Started college in 2019. He graduated from UConn in 2022. He's still playing college football. So, yeah, this is crazy.
Is that because you got that COVID year? Does that also help these players?
Well, in Cam Ross's case, UConn did not play in 2020. So nobody who was there had to use that year. Then he had 2 medical red shirts. So, it's crazy. So there's a guy, Virginia played Florida in the Orange Bowl in 2019. The coaches were Bronco Mendenhall and Dan Mullins.
Yes.
That's when Cam Ross started college football. That feels like 100 years ago.
It does. It really does, buddy. And it's funny. People come up to me and they go, all right, who do you like to make the title game? I go, I don't know. I'm just kidding. And I get it. I am in the business when you're not supposed to say that as the answer. But my thing is, this is how I look at college football. All right, you have teams that deserve to make the playoff. Like we had Indiana, SMU last year, Boise State. Regular season, they deserve to be there. But then, this is how I look at it. What teams are built to win 3 or 4 games? So I look at Ohio State, Georgia. We saw Notre Dame do it. Those are my pick. Whoever has the depth and has the best players, I could see Ohio State, Penn State. That's how I look at the playoff. Who could win? How do you look at it?
Oh, it's definitely depth. I focus so much of my time and attention on the Virginia program. The last couple of years. Last year, Virginia started 4-1, lost 6 of their last 7 games because 1.5 deep, not even 2 deep, 1.5 deep. They had talent, but after 1.5 deep, once you got injuries, They didn't have the second and third tier guys to come up and replace the guys that got hurt. And that's why you lose 6 or 7. Pitt started 7-0 last year, lost their last 6 games. A similar example. And so when Virginia's people went out this year to say we need to build a roster, it wasn't just we need to get star players. We need to get depth. You can't just win with 30 or 35 or 40 guys. You need 55, 60, 65 guys that can go out there and play, because attrition, injuries, things of that nature, little things. It's not even big injuries like season-ending injuries. It's just tweaking a knee, tweaking an ankle, that you need a guy to play against Florida State this weekend, those kind of things. And so, you've got to build a deep, deep roster, and only about 15 or 20 schools can do that from a mathematics standpoint.
Miami started 9-0 last year. 9-0. So everyone's like, they're having this great year. I'm like, again, they were 9-0 and then fell apart. The turnover chain team in 2017, I think they had to win one game to who'd they lose to? It was Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah.
They lost that game. So this is my thing. The Hurricane fans here are super excited, as they should be, but every time they falter in late November, they got to make sure they can keep going on this. So it's going to be interesting. By the way, Miami, Florida State tickets, they're getting at Taylor Swift concert ticket levels. I hope
surprised. Where is that game this year?
Tallahassee.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is. All right. Before I let you go, I've been waiting a couple weeks to ask you this question. All right. Not did you go to WrestlePalooza, whatever the hell that was. No. So WrestleMania, for the first time ever, is going to be out of North Carolina. I'm thinking too much ACC. It's going to be outside of North America. It's going to be in Saudi Arabia. Remember, it's going to be in Vegas next April, May, then Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts economically where they're going for this big money here now?
I understand money. TKO owns the WWE and UFC now. They're making deals, this new deal, all their premium live events, they call them now, are on the ESPN app. I'm sensing a lot of balking from fans who say $30 a month. We were getting Peacock for $9 a month. And so now you're asking us to pay for this. You're asking us to pay for Netflix to be able to watch Raw. The ticket prices, I shouldn't say too much. They're selling out their Monday Night Raws and their SmackDowns and their pay-per-view live events, but the ticket prices are ridiculous and they're pricing regular fans out. And so, it feels like a money grab, and it is a money grab, but and you take the money when you can. If you're a business, you take money when people are willing to give you money. But the problem with that can be, when the money train runs out and you've priced regular fans out of it, and they get out of the habit of, hey, Monday Night Raw's coming to town, let's go get tickets. And then you look and you can't get tickets, and you don't do that for a couple of years. And then when the money train goes away and those high priced tickets go away, the fans are out of the habit of even looking to see if Raw or SmackDown is coming to town. And so that would be a concern that I've got. As far as Saudi Arabia specifically, I'm disappointed. Again, I understand they're getting a boatload of money from Saudi Arabia to do these things, but you got to have some self-respect. And you're sports washing Saudi Arabia's human rights abuses here, and and getting a lot of money for it. If a company can make money, they owe it to their investors to make money, but you owe it to your fans who help you make the money too. And I don't know that they're playing that game very well.
What's interesting with your answer, if someone bombs in and didn't hear my question, there's a part of me you're like, well, is he talking about the NBA? Is he talking about baseball? Could that be any sport with where it's getting so expensive to go to games?
Well, I don't go to NFL games in person because during the season, I'm covering college football and I'm exhausted on Sundays. And I could barely turn the TV on Sundays.
I get it. It's your day of rest.
It's a day of rest, yeah. But I do go to a lot of baseball. Baltimore and Washington are only about 3 hours away, and we do a lot of baseball in the spring and summer. I still can afford baseball. It's NFL, I can imagine, is not, because it's one game a week and only 8 home games a season. NBA is, I don't even have an interest in the NBA either to go see a game because they've devalued regular season games. You might buy a ticket to go see Steph Curry or LeBron James, and they take a load management night. So there's no way I'm going to, commit to going to a Wizards game One, because the Wizards are the Wizards. That's 3 hours away too. And then I wouldn't be going to see the Wizards. I'd be going to see somebody taking a break that night. So, but baseball's still affordable. I can still get to a baseball game, but yeah, no, I think it's a valid point you make there, Mark. That they're pricing themselves out of, and a concern to have there would be if kids can't go to games, then when they become adults, are they going to go to games? I don't know.
It's a great question. It really is. We're here with Chris Graham-Augusta Free Press. My problem, I get it. I know Adam Silver said this. Hey, the NBA's, you could still check out the highlights on social media for free, which was a terrible thing to say out loud. WWE will post, I don't know if this is good or bad. They will post the highlights 30 seconds after they happen for free. Why would I have to buy the pay-per-view? Like, literally, these people, like, I'm not kidding around. 30 seconds. Oh, Brock Lesnar beat John Cena. Okay. Well, I don't have to watch the pay-per-view. I know what happens. I don't know if it's good or bad. I don't
think that's good. No, and AEW doesn't do that. And I know because I have a writer who works on our staff who does reviews of their Wednesday and Saturday shows. And we include the YouTube highlights, the snippets in his reviews, but they don't do that for their pay-per-views. And so, I mean, they at least protect the value of that. WWE, maybe they don't care. I mean, and that would be a question more for ESPN. Hey, ESPN, Disney, you spent how many billions of dollars on this WWE property that they're giving away for free? If I'm ESPN, I'm probably not very happy about that.
All right, I'm going to be on record as saying this. I agree with you. I don't think it should be in Saudi Arabia. I don't. It's a U.S. product. And look, it shouldn't be in Vegas every year as well. It shouldn't. And I get it. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you are right about the prices for some of this stuff. And I see people post it where, like, ringside seats, $20,000. And, like, dude, here's my number one rule. Stop wearing the belt. Okay, if you're a fan, I'm sorry. I love wrestling. I cover wrestling like you do. Stop. Only the champ wears the belt. It's like if we went to hockey, like I go to the Florida Panthers game and I'm walking around with the Stanley Cup. No, I didn't win the Stanley Cup.
How about so little kids? And I don't know. It's kind of like the trick or treat age. How old are you to too old to be trick or treating? If you're too old to be trick or treating, you shouldn't be wearing the belt.
The belt, and you have to wear the belt all night at the event. All night. I don't want to hold that the whole night.
Man. So adults who are your age or my age, Mark. I mean, I went to a New Japan show in DC, so that tells you how much of a fan I am. It's been 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, they weren't just wearing belts, Mark. There were people they were wearing like the Ric Flair robes. I mean, yeah.
Look, I get it. Look. It's your money. You're an adult. You want to buy it, go for it. I'm not wearing. My dad has that rule, which you've heard before, that starts fights. He says, as a full-grown adult man, you can't wear a jersey. And that starts fights with it. Can't wear a jersey. I'm like, no, I'm going to wear that jersey. But maybe that's how he sees guys wearing belts. It's the same thing.
That's interesting. I mean, I even make it a point. Yeah, I mean, I've got a rack full of jerseys hanging up over here, but I kind of don't wear them either. They're just kind of there. So maybe I'm getting more like your dad.
Yeah, I completely get it. Those belts, by the way, are not cheap either. No. They are not. There are a couple.
They can run you some money, and they have a dork quotient to them that is just unfortunate.
All right, the only wrestling shirt I wear, and now it's dated, but I don't care. I have my Toxic Attraction NXT shirt where it's Mandy Rose, Gigi Dolan, and JC Jane, who's now currently the champion. I wear that shirt all the time. I don't care.
Okay, since you mentioned that, I forgot that when we scheduled this. I was used to back in the day that we would talk on the phone. All right, so I got to show you.
Oh no, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing a Jim Cornette shirt today. I did not do that to please you or promote Jim Cornette, but I'm wearing my Jim Cornette face.
I have worked to try to get him on. I think it's easier to get the president on than trying to get Jim Cornette on.
The president or the Pope or both. I mean, a President Pope joint interview would be easier than Cornette. But he is legendary, and I value his opinion way too much, and I'm repping for him here.
All right, before I let you go, there is a clip. If you ever want to start laughing, look up the time Jim Cornette breaks down. Stone Cold Steve Austin will not fight Mark Miro because the night before Sable bombed Mark Miro. So Stone Cold says, "Why would I fight this guy?" It's one of my favorites of all time. All right, what can we check out with your coverage for all things, football, politics, news? What do you got, buddy?
Hey, if for Florida State fans tuning in who want to know the Virginia side, I guess more. I mean, I'm going to do a look at Florida State from a Virginia's perspective here in the next couple of days. But hey, if you want to know everything you could possibly know about Virginia football before the Florida State game, check me out, because I am not kind when I don't need to be. And, you'll find out things like the secondary sucks for Virginia, the place kicker. Hey, if this game comes down to a field goal, you advantage Florida State. So, I mean, things like that. Check me out for all that kind of stuff.
I went to a game, Florida State of Virginia, like in 2010 when I was living there. Were you all right, old man? Let's make sure we have this right. The most famous one, maybe one of the most famous ACC games of all time, 95, upset number one. Or were they 1 or 2?
They fallen from 1 to 2 for some reason without losing that week. Yeah.
Were you at that game?
I was at that game. I was a year out of college. I still was just a junior writer, so I didn't have credentials for that game as a journalist. So I was 10 rows up on the 50-yard line with my buddy from college, my college roommate, on the Florida State side. So we were behind the Florida State bench. Oh yeah, it was a magical night. I tell you what.
I'm not kidding. If a Seminoles fan, you probably don't want to hear this. That is one of the most famous games in the history of the conference.
There were some dudes on the field that night too. Warwick Dunn was the running back who took the direct snap and got stopped at the inch line. Yeah. Tiki Barber scored a touchdown in that game for Virginia. Rondé Barber, Hall of Famer now, NFL Hall of Famer, was playing cornerback for Virginia in that game. That was a game. There were some serious football players playing in that football game.
His name's Chris Graham-Augusta Free Press. My man, thanks for your help and have a great day.
Thanks, Mark.